Hey, everybody, we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Lab Report brought to you by the Cannabis Lab. I am your host, Todd Rosales, and sitting in the ever rotating Mr. Cannabis Law chair this week, Stephen Avalon. We're going to have to start keeping score here, Stephen, to see who's doing more episodes.
Listen, I'm glad to take it away from Dustin. I know he's a busy guy, and I love getting to talk to you once a week. So
Well, I think we can easily kick him out as long as we have somebody who's a Mr. Cannabis Law. The show will always work. But, I know that things are a little different this week. It's a special episode. We've got an awesome guest with us today. Not just my daughter, who you're going to hear in the background from time to time, but my good friend, the editor-in-chief of Cannabis and Tech Today, Charles Warner. Chuck, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Happy Friday, everybody.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're joining us all the way from Denver, Colorado. And we're happy to see your take on the news. So, we've got me and you who can give opinions and Steven who's going to give the facts and maybe some opinion. But this is a quick show, so let's get into it. In completely unrelated news to our guest being here, next week is the inaugural Emerge Conference, which I believe is the first fully virtual conference in the cannabis industry and maybe in some others as well. Coincidentally, we have Charles Warner here, who's one of the driving forces behind it. Chuck, I'll let you lead off with this one. Tell us a little bit about the Emerge Conference coming up next week.
Yeah, thanks, man. This was kind of the brainchild of just a lot of people saying, how can we all get together, for a virtual event and get some business done, do some networking, and kind of raise the bar for virtual events. Just take it one step up from kind of the webinar type format. And we figured out creating avatars and going into an immersive world, like a video game where all the exhibitors and the attendees interact through a bunch of different ways was actually fun. And it creates a little bit more engagement. And it's not really new technology, but it's just kind of the first time we've put it all together with this kind of lineup here for the cannabis industry. So it's really cool. We've got 30 plus sessions of speakers, very diverse, really, really interesting topics on science and advocacy. We've got about 45 exhibitors all across the board. So kind of the same types of companies you'd see at an MJ Biz or a Cannabis World Congress. And then the most important thing is the attendees. So people can go to Emerge, they can get tickets for $10, match donations for Last Prisoner Project, and enjoy a fun avatar-based 3D VR cannabis event after the long holiday.
See, my favorite thing about this conference is my avatar has hair. So you fixed that problem for me. I actually now have a full head of hair just for the Emerge conference. It's kind of that was a Brad Paisley song, I'm Cooler Online. But you got to see my avatar. The guy is very, very handsome. Stephen, I think you're excited for this kind of stuff as well, being the youngest one on the panel. What do you think about virtual conferences?
First of all, thanks for the shout out for being the youngest on the panel. Definitely appreciate that at all times. I love to see it. I mean, there's kind of two upsides to this in my mind. Obviously, in our current healthcare state, COVID-wise in the U.S., this sort of thing is becoming more and more vital. I think you're seeing a lot more Zoom meetings that would normally be in person, stuff like that. So it's great from that perspective. But then it's also great just kind of moving forward to be able to, join a conference like this that would normally be on the West Coast rather than for someone like me based out of Fort Lauderdale to have to fly out there, get a hotel, take, 2-3 days, however long the conference is going to be, and take that away from being at work. You can do it remotely. So I think it's great. It's great work you guys are doing, and I absolutely love to see it.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely keep everybody up to date after we experience that conference next week. There's actually 2 Cannabis Lab members that are going to be presenting. Yours truly will be Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Counter Beverage panel. And then Roger Brown from ACS Laboratories is going to be, I believe, on the panel right before me at 5 o'clock Eastern. So we're really excited. And Chuck, thank you so much. But we're going to get out of the self-serving news, as much as I love doing that, and into the actual news this week. So I hope you'll stick around and BS with Stephen and I.
Damn right.
All right. All right. So into the other news, the state of California is finally embracing its stereotype and backing the cannabis industry with a new campaign called This is California Cannabis, which involves community events and workshops to inform residents about licensing opportunities within the market and technical assistance provided by the state of California. Although this sounds like a massive sting operation waiting to happen, do you think other states are going to start to look at this tactic and actually embrace and promote their cannabis industries?
I mean, first of all, there are only a few states I would trust for this to not be a sting operation. California is one of them. So hopefully you're right, and that's not actually just a very, very elaborate sting by the state. But I think this is going to help for a lot of states. You're starting to see the negative connotation with the cannabis industry start to go away. States are realizing that there's, beyond the helpful components of the industry from, health standpoints and recreational standpoints, there's a lot of tax revenue to be made here. There's state backing that can help the industry itself and the state. And I think California is the perfect kind of pilot program for this. You're going to see them backing it in the same way that, certain states back their tourism industries or fishing industries or whatever it is. And it's going to be a huge boon for the companies and the states. And I think the smart, prudent states are going to follow suit.
Charles, you live in a great state for cannabis, Colorado. Do you see your state or any others getting behind this in the same way?
Yeah, I think that it's a really good idea. I mean, I think right now states are looking for ways to generate revenue, and obviously tourism, even during COVID, tourism still kind of matters, and cannabis tourism matters. So I think that Colorado, California, if they kind of can lead the way, when people are deciding where they're going to go, it would be kind of cool to know if you're especially living in a state where there is no cannabis and you could go, vacation, visit family, work trip, whatever, and you can go someplace where there is a cannabis experience. I think that just kind of enriches it. So they shouldn't be like embarrassed of their cannabis, laws or availability. They should kind of embrace it because I think it's progressive and smart. And so, yeah, I think you'll probably start seeing more of that, especially because of all the benefits associated.
Well, it's definitely a step in the right direction for sure. In other news, let's address the elephant in the room, or the elephant in the zoo, should I say. An elephant at a zoo in Poland will be given cannabis to cope with the loss of its companion. The plan is to mix CBD oil with Fritzia, who is the elephant's name, Fritzia's food, and continue to monitor her cortisol levels to see if the oil really can help treat her anxiety and stress. Do you think we're going to start seeing more people looking for cannabis-based treatments outside of just human beings at this point? And is this going to ultimately end up being a proof of concept for using it as a true therapeutic treatment for humans?
I think this is going to be potentially really big moving forward. You're already starting to see pet food and pet treat CBD companies starting to emerge in the last couple of years. I know. Sorry.
Oh, you just said emerge. I was like, ding, 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 emerge.
Nice shout out down there. But you're starting to see these businesses emerge. I mean, I know when I was in-house counsel for a cannabis company, one of our main goals was to acquire one of these companies. And people love their pets more than they love most people. So I think if both unofficial, quote unquote, studies like this one, and then hopefully official studies down the line start to show that it's helping with pet stress levels. I mean, I know I've had pets in the past that have, separation issues when, they're left at home alone. And if CBD can help that, I think it's going to be great for consumers and their pets, and obviously great for the industry.
Yeah, I just want to follow that up with, I mean, that's brilliant. People will do more for their pets than they will for themselves. And even with like the whole like climate change debate, like a lot of people were like, I don't care about it. But when Australia was burning and they saw a koala bear on fire, everybody like lost their mind. So people really do love animals and they love pets. And so, yeah, I think you'll see a lot more of this. But I will have to say that being in a zoo for this elephant or any animal is probably stressful because you're in a little cage. So there might be a lot more CBD for animals that are in zoos. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
We might have to get the elephant some of the good stuff, but I imagine that's going to be a nice size 5-gallon bucket of CBD oil they're going to use because, my tincture bottle, call it, I'd like to think an elephant's bigger than me, but who knows? All right, moving on to one that I'm very, very excited about and leading into our last topic here. The state of Illinois shattered their marijuana sales record, selling over 1.3 million products totaling $61 million, smashing the previous record of $47 million. The state of Illinois has brought in $52 million in tax revenue in the first 6 months since retail sales started in January, with 25% of that money being earmarked for social equity programs. First 6 months of the program, they're making 10 figures. I think this is a very, very good solution for a lot of the problems facing our country. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
I think Illinois is a great case study. I mean, by all means, they were not really ready to roll out full rec in January. They voted on it and, claimed they were ready, but anyone in the industry up there will tell you it was definitely a rocky start. And like you said, I mean, as of right now, they're on track to make $100 million in tax revenue. That is problem solving amounts of tax revenue that other states are just willfully choosing not to take in because they don't want to embrace the cannabis movement within their state. It's hopefully it's a wake-up call for a lot of states. I mean, especially a state like Florida, you see the medical market's already great and you can't tax that market. If you make it full rec, it's hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue. I mean, I know Colorado has been the poster child for tax revenue for the last few years since they went full rec. It's hitting a point where I think you're starting to see the industry from a state by state level starting to snowball, where states can't really ignore the upside of a cannabis market within their state anymore. So hopefully this is just another wake up call and starts in Illinois and moves out.
Yeah, I would say it's common sense. But that means the politicians probably won't embrace it. So it's going to be even more difficult to get it done. But yeah, I mean, no brainer, right? I've got a house in Florida. And if I'm deciding if I'm vacationing in Florida, or California, it'd be cool to go to Key West and be able to, smoke some rec or something like that. So I think the states that have the rec and that are, embracing the cannabis, they're just being really smart. There's a lot of revenue to be made, and there's really, no negative side effects from it other than happy people and good experiences. So I think that there will probably be more states doing it. It'll be really interesting to see what happens after the, after the election.
And I think, sorry about that. I think on top of that, the more states successfully doing this and getting some revenue in, hopefully it wakes up the federal government and they start to see, okay, I might not ideologically agree with what's happening here, but I can't deny that, federally speaking, if we legalized and instituted a federal tax of a couple percent, those billions of dollars wouldn't help our government. So
for those of you watching the show and wondering why I'm going off to the side every so often, I'm sure you can hear it in the background now. But moving on to our last topic, and then, honey, I promise we'll play this afternoon. The U.S. House of Representatives is scheduled to vote on the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement, or MORE Act. And I swear that they pick the acronym first and then go back and name the bill, because none of these ever really make sense in my eyes. But they're going to vote on it in September. The MORE Act officially removes cannabis from the list of federally controlled substances. It would also expunge federal marijuana convictions and arrests and approve the allocation of resources for communities affected by the war on drugs, according to the bill's text. A, what chances do you give? And B, it sounds like Illinois is already doing this pretty well. Looks like we have a proof of concept. Wonder why that article came first. Gentlemen?
As far as the chances of this succeeding, I give it 0. Unfortunately, it's a great act. I love the MORE Act. I wish it would get passed today. I've been talking to a lot of my contacts up in DC, both lobbying firms in the House and the Senate. I know there's a lot of concern within the Democratic Party about this. If it passes, obviously that's great. If it doesn't, it's just more ammo for Republicans to paint them as, crazy, progressive, drug smoking hippies, which is not a good look. As far as the actual vote itself goes, if the House votes and actually pushes this to a vote, it's going to mean that the Democrats have already whipped the caucus. They know that they have the votes to pass it. They're not going to put this to the floor and have it fail. If that's the case, it's going to pass in the House, which is great. Senate, however, Absolutely. I was talking to a lobbyist friend of mine about 5 minutes before the show started, and I asked him, what do you think the chances are it passes the Senate? And after about 30 seconds of laughter, he said there's no chance whatsoever. It's not happening as the Senate's currently structured. So I think Democrats are kind of using this in two different ways. One is a barometer of where the vote's at, how it's perceived publicly. And then the other is just the messaging component that, Democrats are very high on the social justice issues and all that, which the MORE Act would address if passed. And they're just kind of getting that message out prior to our kind of important vote coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah, I would just say, first of all, Todd, she is ridiculously cute. I would just say that, seriously, like all kidding aside, I feel like we are like Charlie Brown and the MORE Act is the football, and it's being teed up, and the cannabis industry is getting a running start. Here we come. And Lucy's going to pull that thing away. I agree. I think there's a lot of bills that have been passed in the House that aren't going anywhere in the Senate. So I don't see why that would change at all. But I really think that it's strange that something that has 60 to 70% public approval, which is, I think what the polls are as far as cannabis legalization and things like that, nobody seems to know how to grab this issue and run with it, which is surprising because there are a lot of good things with it, jobs, tax benefits, relief for people. I mean, the list goes on and on. We know that. But I just think it's a big tease, and there's no stomach for it to pass, the Congress as it is. There's just nothing's getting passed anyways. They can't even pass a corona relief bill, so they're probably not going to pass the MORE Act.
It's almost as if there's something going wrong in the federal government at the moment. It's
like it doesn't work or something. It's so weird.
Well, I appreciate the opinion, guys. Mackenzie, do you have anything to finish on this topic? No? Well, guess what? When you get to high school, you can tell all your friends you were on a cannabis show when you were 10 months old. So, gentlemen, we have finished with the news. Any parting words before we let the people into their weekend?
You caught me off guard the last time I was on the show with the parting words. I didn't have anything prepared. So this time I decided to wear a shirt that's going to do it for me, which is Cannabis Saves Lives. Get out there, talk to your congressman, tell them that this is an issue you're behind, and as a voter, you'd like to see it, and hopefully we can enact some change out there.
Yeah, and
Charles,
I just wanted to say, Superbad Inc. They are our platinum sponsor at Emerge. I feel like a NASCAR driver. And I just wanted to say that, yeah, man, go out and get some tickets. We're supporting matching donations with Last Prisoner Project and Minorities for Medical Marijuana. So go out and get your tickets for Emerge. They start at like $10. And come in, create your avatar, and party like an avatar next week. It's going to be a really cool event, and we want everybody to check it out. You can go to emergecanna.com and get your tickets.
Awesome. Everyone head to emergecanna.com while we're showing off t-shirts. Mike Tyson, I want you on Elevate Your Grind. I saw you just did the Joe Rogan show. Obviously, ours isn't as big, but we want you just as bad. Gentlemen, thank you. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next time. Whoa.
See you guys.